Hello, I'm Matt Florence from My Bevan News, and I'm here interviewing Jackie Walker, who was one of the co-founders of Momentum. How are you doing, Jackie?
Under pressure at the moment, I think is what you'd call it. Do you want me to say more about myself?
Yep, that's why you're here.
Okay. So my background really politically is that I've been sort of politically active kind of all my life. Professionally, I was an anti-racist trainer for some time, but I've also been an anti-racist campaigner as well. So what I mean is I wasn't just training people in a room in my spare time. This is how sad I was. I was also kind of fighting the fascists on the streets. And so, for example, before Jeremy Corbyn actually got in, I was one of the people who was campaigning hard in South Thanet against UKIP. So I've always been a campaigner of some sort. Anyway, I've also been a supporter of Jeremy Corbyn probably for about 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, long before he became the leader. That's why I know Jeremy and John. In fact, Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell were kind of comrades of my partner from 30, 40 years back. So this is not a new thing for me. The politics is not new. So I was part of the Jeremy for Leader campaign, and that sort of slipped in. It sort of became the Momentum grouping, and that's how I came to be vice chair of Momentum and sitting in front of you now.
So you're experienced with the kind of people who were founding it before, you came together through contacts, and then you founded Momentum to help Jeremy Corbyn become Prime Minister.
I helped. I was one of the kind of founding people who was, going around at the moment. I was the first vice chair. And, when I was working with Momentum, it was a small group struggling with no money. Very changed now.
Oh, yes. I've seen it's become huge now. I mean, I've seen their videos on Facebook. It's just like, wow.
Yeah, and all very professional and all very slick and a lot of money and a lot of what I would call silent members. So what I call silent members is the fact that I think they're just about past 35,000 for members, maybe a bit more. But out of those, you can always say only about 10% of those will actually be active members. So that's what you've got to have in your brain, that the amount of activists within that is actually quite limited, and therefore each activist is precious.
So Jackie Walker, I also heard that you were very into campaigns against anti-Semitism in British politics too.
Yeah, of course, because I'm into any kind of campaign against bigotry. I want a nice, tolerant society where we can all walk down the road and live in our homes without being scared. And anti-Semitism, like any other form of racism, is something we can't tolerate.
So, we've heard, well, we hear in, newspapers, the Daily Mail, the Scum and other such newspapers,
Yes.
There's constant accusations against Jeremy Corbyn, the latest one being that he is an anti-Semite or he's linked with Nazis. The year before that, he was a Russian spy, and before that, he was a Czech spy. Before that, he's a friend of Putin. Before that, he's a Muslim extremist and a Catholic sympathizer of the IRA. The accusations are just never going to stop. So,
yeah, and actually, can I just say,
yeah.
And before that, actually, the accusations of anti-Semitism against Jeremy Corbyn began even before he became leader.
Oh, really?
So let's be clear when this started. This isn't recent. If you have a look, you'll see. As soon as his campaign declared, this is what happened. And it happened for one reason. One reason is that he is the first potential leader of our country who has also had sympathies for the plight of Palestinian people.
Yeah, Britain does have a very shameful track record when it comes to constant politicians just going over for Israel. Even the Labour Party that should know better has a Labour Friends of Israel section where a huge chunk of their MPs have joined.
Well, there are reasons why a huge chunk of MPs join Friends for Israel, but what you've got to understand about the Labour Party, interestingly, whatever the Mail might tell you, is that traditionally the Labour Party, for lots of reasons, which I can go into, but you might find a bit boring, has been a supporter of the founding of Israel, because it was seen as a sort of saviour of the Jewish people. It was seen as a sort of almost as a semi-socialist society, you know, when they were all living in kibbutz and stuff like that. So initially, I think, just like Tony Benn initially was what you call a Zionist, and he changed his mind. So the Labour Party has that kind of history behind it.
Well, that's not uncommon. A lot of socialists during the time believed that they were helping Jewish people after the plight of World War II. And, you know, being, you know, the Soviet Union, the ones who crushed the Nazis, were also very into trying to found Israel. But then a lot of the socialist bloc quickly changed their mind after they saw the Nakba and other such events.
Exactly.
They didn't quite realise, oh, maybe we've made a little bit of a mistake.
Yes.
But so almost all of the socialist camp has gone back on that almost half a century ago.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we've got to be very clear as well that what's happening in the Labour Party is that the Parliamentary Labour Party does not reflect the political views of the majority of the membership.
Oh yeah, that's obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we've got that split between, you know, how many MPs are Labour friends of Israel and the responses of members.
So let's talk about some of the most recent events surrounding Jeremy Corbyn. Let's not look at the past so much now.
Yes, let's look at the past.
Oh, I'm a history student, so I could do it all day, but I don't want to bore our viewers.
Okay.
So the accusation that Jeremy Corbyn was some form of Russian spy, and as far as I can piece together, this is nothing new. We're going to go into history again. Before this, there was the Iraq has WMDs, and after that, there were accusations of Assad using chemical weapons. And then before that, there were accusations that Gaddafi had a secret rape camp and that he lived in a palace and that he was airstriking civilians. Before that, you have Nurse Naira. Do you know of Nurse Naira?
No.
Oh, she accused Iraq of pushing babies out of their incubators in Kuwait. But it turned out that she was actually the daughter of a Kuwaiti ambassador and that she'd made the whole thing up.
God.
And then before that, we have the Gulf of Tonkin. You know, the false accusations that North Vietnam had attacked the United States, and this is why we need to bomb North Vietnam. So these really vile pushes towards hostilities against other countries that the British elite doesn't necessarily agree with. Would you agree that that's nothing new?
Oh, I mean, this is how we get manipulated, isn't it? If you look at almost any war that's ever started, and by the way, I'm not a pacifist. I am not a pacifist. But, you know, it always has to start with making this other into a devil, doesn't it? Now, sometimes, in my mind, a war is justified, but very often the war of the ruling classes, if I'm going to go into that kind of political speech,
You can.
is actually about oil, it's about money, it's about their power. So they have to fool most of us into hating whatever group it is, and that's how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all pretty obvious. Do you think that the same is happening to Jeremy Corbyn right now?
I don't think. I don't think. I mean, you know, I think it was 3 years. No, it was before Corbyn became leader. Netanyahu's government decided that they would spend X millions on destabilizing and undermining people who supported the Palestinians. Since those decisions were made, the department that has been set up, they've now decided it's part of the secret services, so you can't get information about it. I am absolutely sure. In fact, if anybody saw the Al Jazeera program on the influence of Israeli politics in British politics, you will see the guy talking, the Israeli embassy official talking about what to do with me, which is to keep following what she does, follow what she does, don't let it drop, keep going on. And I have been told, and I cannot tell you by what sources, that my name is up there on a list which is held by those agencies, and they are going for Jeremy Corbyn, and they are going for anybody, any group who actually supports him. And it doesn't matter, you see, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish or not. That's the point. It's anybody who supports Jeremy Corbyn and doesn't support the State of Israel.
And what words do you have for people who want to fight against these accusations of anti-Semitism? I know that it's so obvious to us who are interested in politics, but to if you're just talking to somebody in the pub and they bring up something that they've read in the Daily Mail, what would you say to them? How would you respond?
Well, the first thing I'd say is if you want to talk to your mates about it, then get informed yourself. And that's, I can't do that here because I haven't got enough time. But there are certain organisations, and for example, my Facebook page or my website that you might want to clock into. So there's the Jewish Voice for Labour. They have a website. There is Labour Against the Witch Hunt. They have a website. JackieWalker.org, and then there's my Facebook page, which is Jacqueline Walker, and you'll see my face. So I think you'd know who I was if you saw it. But first of all, get informed. Do not trust any of the mainstream media. That includes The Guardian, by the way. Don't think that because it's The Guardian, that's going to give you an actual balanced view of what it is. And then actually start to just pull out the logic of what's happening here.
Great. Well, that was Jackie Walker and We're Nye Bevan News. It was great to have you on the channel. I'm going to upload this to my own channel and also to the Facebook page of Nye Bevan News. Now, are there any points that you want to go out on? Maybe a famous quote by somebody you're inspired by? Or maybe a slogan you'd like to say?
It's just Martin Luther King, isn't it? I've been on that mountain. Well, I haven't actually been on that mountain, but I want to climb and get there. That's what I'd say.
That's perfect. Jackie Walker, everybody.
Get up, stand up for your right.